Okay, season 10. The simulation is about to be underway. We're ahead of preseason, but I've already got my roster in mind. And I'm going to show you what I have in mind to go through the 22-23 season 10 simulation. So this is what I see going forward. This is the makeup of our NHL squad. We have Pacioretty, Duchesne, Niederreiter. There is no Brad Marchand. We let him go. I actually got to figure out, where did Brad Marchand land? I couldn't come to a reasonable agreement with Marchand on a contract, so he wanted way more, and I don't have a lot of cap space. In fact, I'm operating at very little cap space as it is with this group. I managed to finagle some contract offers in the offseason, and we have an interesting team going forward. So Niederreiter, we retained him. The Minnesota Wild offer us the trade to get Niederreiter for a first-round pick or whatever the deal was. And so we agreed to that. We kept Niederreiter around, expiring contract in the summer. Ming remains at second-line center. He's not surpassed Duchesne, but that could change as the season goes on. If we're not winning games or producing, scoring, I could see line changes, but Ming and LeBlanc continues to be a combination with Kujawenski. Yep, Kujawenski is the second-line center despite being an 85 overall. This could all be subject to change depending on simulation. Polkinen, we retain him. We retain Monahan on that third line. Stromwall stays here. New addition, free agent Teuvo Teravainen, just to fill out the depth. And he was not asking for a lot of money. Yeah, he's making $1 million even for 1 year. Just needed someone to fill out that depth. It was a cheap value deal, so we add Teuvo Teravainen to the fold. Voivoda will be the fourth line center. Last year was his first year in competition. Last year was his first NHL season, played all 82 games, so a recap of the stats on Voivoda. He is a grinder, so don't expect a whole lot offensively out of this guy. He played all 24 games in the playoffs. I think all 24 games, 4 goals, 8 points, -9 in that postseason. Probably a lot of those negatives were coming in the Game 7 against Edmonton, which I have profusely apologized for how poor we played in that Game 7. I'm trying to wipe that from my memory because I want this team to be on a tear this year, looking for revenge. We'll take a look at the way the Oilers shake out. But, you notice that the lineup outside of, we add Teravainen, we subtracted Brad Marchand. The lineup's relatively unchanged. On the blue line is where it gets a little interesting. Just a little bit, not a lot of changes. In fact, we basically retain the same D pairs. You see Severson, Subban, Hedman, Tamernis. Yeah, Hedman, second pair defenseman this year. Just how we're going to start things out. We'll play around with this. Bigris, we maintain him. But we get Maximilian Weiss. I found him. He was in free agency. I couldn't believe it. I was scrolling through free agency, and this is the player that at the very first episode of this GM mode, I explained all my created players. I showed them all. And he is one of the players I created for the draft classes just to spice things up for the GM mode. And one thing that you'll notice, there's the dollar value, 1.235. He wanted reasonable money for 1 year, just a show me contract, what you can do, see if you're a good fit. The big thing about this guy, and I mean big thing, is the size. The 6'9", 245 German on the blue line. Yeah, this could be a really interesting fit on that defensive group. He'll be playing on the third pair to start the season, the enforcer defenseman. So we've got a grinder, fourth line center. We've got an enforcer, third pair D. There's my power play, 4-man power play, penalty kill, 3-man PK, so on and so forth. Not a lot of ice time for Maximilian Weiss. The goaltenders. Carey Price kind of dropped the ball in that playoffs. Now, he hasn't dropped a ton. He's down to an 89 from a 90 last season. But here's the drop-off. It's in the potential. He is a 3.5 White Star potential. He's 35 now. The 3.5 White Star potential means he is definitely getting worse. And he's getting worse a lot progressively faster than I was prepared for. It's basically the last go-around with Carey Price in a Habs jersey. Here's the plan. He's got 1 year left. He's making 8.2 against the cap. That's a big part of the reason I was restricted in what I could do in the offseason is Carey Price's cap hit. I've got 2 goaltenders that are making... What is he making? Hold on. What is Fucali making? I got 2 goaltenders that are making $8 million. I got $16 million locked up in 2 goalies. So I'll explain the Fucale situation in a moment, but let's get back to Carey Price for a second here before we begin this simulation. This is the last go-around. If we are not a playoff team by the trade deadline, Price is gone. I'm going to give him one last shot. Yeah, he probably will retire in the offseason, and he should ideally retire in a Canadiens jersey. I hope in the perfect scenario, here's the stats, by the way, from the last 3 seasons from Price. Ignore the top one, that is the upcoming season. There's all the stats. Ideally, we're a playoff team, and we can go out in a perfect world with a Stanley Cup championship before Price retires, and that would be the end of the story for Carey Price. I mean, he's on the cover, the thumbnail, rather, not the cover, but the thumbnail for this GM series. He's been around since the very beginning of the series. 10 years ago in the game world, we started this GM mode, 10 seasons deep now. So Zach Fucale, the reason, so you're going, okay, so you're paying 2 goaltenders $8 million. This was just, I just met the asking price for Zach Fucale. I had to bring him back. He's ready. He's ready to be the guy. He grew to an 87 last season. He was on our team for that playoff run, started a bunch of games in the Stanley Cup final to get us back into that series. So he was a UFA in the offseason. I had no choice but to bring him back. I had to find a way to make the dollar value work. I gave him 3 years by $8 million even. I wanted to give him a long-term 6 or 7 year contract. And if I did that, I would not have been able to fit it under the cap space that I had available. So this is the guy going forward. Ideally, we get rid of Price's contract in the summer after this season 10, and that'll free up at least $8 million in cap space for our team to use flexibly in the offseason. And you can afford to spend $8 million for Fucale for the next 3 seasons. And if it all goes right, Fucale is worth all $8 million, and the contract looks like a steal. Before we get into simming, and you can skip all this, be aware that you can skip all of this. I keep this in the video. I'd like to have this stuff at the beginning of the season simulation just to recap the summer and know what went down, recap what went down. So here's all the free agent signings. I'll just go through this. If you see any names that are worth it, we should take a look at what the Edmonton Oilers lineup looks like before we begin simming this season. I do want to see how those defending Stanley Cup champions look going into season 10. And so far, most of these signings are just really depth options. There's, never mind, that's a different Virtanen. So yeah, I'm just seeing a bunch of depth options, but I'm just going to scroll through this. There's a ton of names we're going to have to get through because this is the end of free agency. These are all just depth signings. But I want to know, Ryan Reeves, there you go. Ryan Reeves with Colorado. There's a notable name. I'm looking for where Brad Marchand ended up specifically. I don't know who exactly hit the free agent. I don't know who the most important names were that hit the free agent market. So I'm just going to keep scrolling, try to fill the dead air with my voice. Now we're starting to get to more notable names. Wow, Sanguinetti goes back to Carolina. Wasn't he on our team? Didn't we have Sanguinetti for a while? I want to say that we did. Mario Kempe, I remember him from the Flames GM mode. Down the list we go. Rhett Rakshani was on our team for a short little while. Was on the Islanders as well before we had Rakshani on our team. Didn't he win a Stanley Cup with us? I think he won a championship with us. He signs with Carolina. So I'm looking for any names that just stick out to me. Victor Arvidsson to Edmonton. He actually did play there. Sub-Zero. Malcolm Subban going to the Coyotes. Yes, we signed Teravainen. Now the names are starting to get more notable. Mikko Rantanen, I got to make him better for future GM modes. I got to edit Mikko Rantanen to make him actually an elite player. But he signs with Nashville. Yeah, I'm not seeing... There you go, Maximilian Weiss. We signed him in free agency. Pavlik goes to the Sharks. Himmelfarb. Okay, so his rights do belong to the Rangers, and I offer sheeted Himmelfarb. The Rangers matched it. So the Rangers matched my offer sheet. I did. There you go. Okay. He stays in the East. He's with Pittsburgh now. So Brad Marchand goes to the Penguins. And it was a last hurrah for Marchand ended on a sour note with a poor showing in Game 7. Yes, this is something I didn't bring up. So Joe Colborne comes back to the organization. He's in the AHL with our team, by the way. He's an AHL player on our squad, just a depth option. But Colborne, the story of Colborne in this GM mode is an interesting one, actually. He was on the Leafs team that beat us out of the playoffs in Season 2. I eventually signed him onto our team, I think as a free agent. And he won, I'm pretty sure, won a Stanley Cup with us. He was on the Oilers team in Season 9 last season that just beat us in the Stanley Cup final. He gets the free agency. I see him sitting there, and I'm like, I need the depth anyway. So I'm just going to sign Joe Colborne, and I bring him back again into the organization. So he goes off and wins a Stanley Cup and comes right back to the Canadiens. So interesting storyline there, if you want to make a storyline out of it. So the Hurricanes did sign... Oh, wait a minute. No. Rod Severson goes to Carolina. He was in Chicago, so I should have shown it in the last video. If you want to see it in the last video, it's in the beginning. Rod Severson was on... He's a really good goaltender. I don't know if I can... I'm going to have to pull him up. Chicago was stockpiling goaltenders, and they had Rod Severson as one of their goaltenders. They had like 6 or 7 goalies, and this guy's pretty decent. He looks like he could be really legit. And so Carolina signs him out of free agency. I got to go, okay. So obviously Chicago's going to run with Tokarski and Lack, but they've got all these different goalies. Severson is not in the system, so that must be the guy. Let me look at Rod Severson. He's not on the main roster because they've got Helbling and Pouliot in their system. But there you go. Rod Severson, drafted by Chicago. First overall pick in 2020. And he goes to free agency. How did I not pick this guy up in free? How did I miss this guy? That's insane. 20 years old. How did Chicago just let this guy go? He's gonna be elite, and this is another reason why we should sim at least up to season 15, if not beyond, and see how some of these players grow. Of course, I'm gonna have to remember to keep tabs on some of these guys, and it's hard enough for me to keep tabs on my own team and my created players. So let's see. Go back to main roster. I do want to see. How are the Hurricanes built? Actually, let's just see how the Hurricanes are built. Still have the Stahl brothers. Wow, Eric Stahl refuses to retire and call it a career. Yeah, they had Ryan O'Reilly. We ran into these guys. Well, they actually do have Nick Delorier. That's funny. They have Nick Delorier in the game as well as in real life as of this moment. So there's the way the Hurricanes are built. We ran into them in the East Final a few times, but I'm looking for Edmonton. Oh, I went back one more. There we go, Edmonton. So Taylor Hall, 30 years of age, just signed a big contract with the Oilers. They're pouring a lot of money into some of these players here. 6 million more plus, 6 million plus, 7 million, 7.2 to Taylor Hall. Worth it because you just won the Stanley Cup. So do they still have the 46 overall player in their NHL team? No, they do not. They have dumped the idea of having the 46 overall player. I know they made a bunch of free agent signings. Yeah, let me see. What is their, that's all skaters. What do they got going on in net? Okay, so Dubnyk, did he retire? I guess either Dubnyk retired or he signed somewhere else. So there's their goaltending tandem. It looks like it's going to be Jorgen Hedman in the net this season as the starting goaltender. Oh my goodness! What have I created? Folks, Noah Yosund is probably the best goalie in the game. This is my created goalie that the Flyers drafted second overall in 2014, and he's legit. This is his numbers from last season. I think I've shown this in a previous video. He may carry the Flyers to a Stanley Cup championship. You got to look out for Philly. The problem is they're in the East. Philly's in the East. We're going to run into these guys in the playoffs, and he's going to steal the show. You just know that's what's going to happen. Okay, Phoenix. Let's look at Phoenix real fast. This will be the last team I look at, I think. Well, we'll look at Vancouver because they got McDavid there in Vancouver. So this was the team to beat last year in the regular season, this Coyotes team. We can look at a couple of players and their production one more time just to refresh you on it. An incredible, impeccable season for Loic Arnaud, another one of my created players drafted by the Coyotes, first overall pick. So Loic Arnaud combining with Laurent Dauphin to put together an impeccable season offensively to production. You can see it, the 21-22 season. Points out the wazoo for these guys, with Laurent Dauphin completing a 52-goal season in Arizona. Can he repeat that success again with the Coyotes? Can the Coyotes win another? Didn't they win the President's Trophy? Can they win another President's Trophy? It was DeLuca as well, by the way, that put together an impressive year offensively as an 81 overall sniper. I don't know where he was playing in their lineup, but he had quite the performance last year. But they were bounced. Weren't they swept by the LA Kings? I think they were beaten by the LA Kings, if not in a sweep, in the first round of that series. Salary cap information for Season 10 as follows, with the maximum cap at almost $84 million. I don't know what it was a season ago, but that information is in last year's season simulation. So we're getting up to opening night at home against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, there will be no banner-raising ceremony. Back-to-back, home and home with the Leafs. Simulate up to this day, and we're going to do the real simulation where we sim through here through real time and set it to goals. Sim speed times 6. So for a couple power plays for both sides. I was going to say the refs are calling it even, but a lot of penalties against the Canadiens. The first goal of the season belongs to Matt Duchene on James Reimer, and, well, they're not calling it even. They're giving all power plays to the Toronto Maple Leafs as Hurdle scores right as the Leafs take a penalty. Kujawenski restores the lead for the Canadiens at 2-1. Power play opportunity. It was a longer one, but that one fell short. I'm going to have to look at the power play. Man, power play is not scoring when we get on the man advantage at all. We're down to the final 5 in regulation play. Empty net goal. There is none, and it's a victory on opening night by the Canadiens. And the scoring summary. Weiss gets his first NHL point. It might be his first point in the NHL, depending on where I don't know where he's been before this. But he gets his first point, at least as a Canadian, on an assist to Duchene. There's the scoring summary from Game 1, the penalty summary as well from Game 1. Wow, lots of penalties. Look at PK Subban. He is going off on a penalty-taking spree. He took the first period alone. Subban took a interference minor, a holding minor, interference minor, and a roughing minor, all in one period. Incredible work. So is PK Subban going to be an issue this year? And on we go with the Season 10 simulation. I know I forgot to look at McDavid and that Canucks team, but there's plenty of time to check out the Canucks team. We can look at it as we get through the mid part of the season, but how about Brad Marchand joining the Penguins? So I can't wait to go up against the Penguins. By the way, we have claimed back-to-back wins against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hopefully we didn't give Toronto any points there. And so another season sim is underway. It's crazy. I think about this, and there we go. But it's wow, that's a quick return from a concussion. And there's our first loss of the season with Bourneval substituting for the injured Sean Monahan, which is just a 4-day injury. He'll miss like 2 games, and there's Pittsburgh on the schedule. Okay, a first game against former Montreal Canadien Brad Marchand. He leads that team. And there goes Damon Severson until November 2nd. And now Monahan's available to play. Man, we're already getting hit by the injury bug. Did we lose in regulation to the Pittsburgh Penguins? Yes, we did. So Brad Marchand, who leads that Pittsburgh Penguins team in penalty minutes entering that game. Injury bug kind of hit us a little bit early on. Yeah, I had to go and sign a depth center for the AHL, so that's what that's all about. So he signs, and it'll give us some depth in the A for when we need call-ups or whatnot. How many games has Fucale played for this team? I may need to flip it and give Fucale more games. Okay, well, Fucale is in there to start this next game against the Rangers, it looks like. I don't know if the assistant coach is going to flip-flop goaltenders. Fucale's played 1 game this season, and that's all I looked at. I didn't look at the stats for Fucale and whether he played well. There's a win, 3-2 win, and so that would be Fucale's win. I'm really hoping that it will auto-rotate the goalies and do it properly with Fucale and Price, because I would like for Fucale to get that precious experience this season. Man, these injuries just slow the simulation down so much, and yet we're already into the month of November now. It's November 1st, now 2nd in the game world, as we're approaching a road game against the New Jersey Devils. And here comes the Deftones song that I just added to the menu music, which is pretty sick. I haven't heard this enough. Down now to a 5-3-1 record with that loss. Fucale now leads the team as well with 3 wins. So it looks like that the assistant coach, which controls the goaltenders, is actually doing a good job of rotating Fucale and Price. So we're getting a mix of both goalies, but man, we are looking pretty bad now. 6-1 loss to Columbus in the previous game. 5-4-1 record. I like that I have a maxed out scouting staff, because I can just send them anywhere and they're going to give me a very accurate report wherever I send them the scout for junior hockey. So Duchesne has 8 goals and we've played 11 games. So he's 8 goals in 11 games. He is hot to start the season. That's down in Hamilton. I can do best lines down there. It's really nice because I don't have a prospect. Like, I don't have Vovoda playing down there, so I don't have to worry about developing a prospect or giving a prospect a certain amount of ice time to develop them. So I can just have the coach do best lines, and I'm fine with it. When we get to the first week in December in this simulation, I do want to see what the standings look like. We're a struggling team so far. I know we just beat Buffalo because we're now up to 7-5-1 after that game. We have a back-to-back home and home with Boston upcoming. Yeah, we won that game 2-1. We won 1-0. It looks like Price and Fucale are kind of splitting the load right now, and they're getting it done for us. Weiss with 39 penalty minutes already. That's my enforcer defenseman. And I really hope this team can make the playoffs. I hope we do. Boston looks like a very struggling team again. They did make the playoffs, and we swept them, I think, out of the second round last season in the playoffs. So that's a struggling organization. Begris is injured. That's just Ryan Murphy getting in there. Okay, so Begris is out. Ryan Murphy in the lineup at D. Duchesne is up to 10 goals. What kind of year? I want to see Su Kai Ming have a season where he just goes off. And I was talking about it at the beginning of this video, of this episode, about that we could potentially, if we needed to, we could move Su Kai Ming up to play on that first line center position. I don't think you're going to have to do that. If Duchesne's producing like this, he's up to 11 goals. I guess it's the new contract has rejuvenated him. He's not playing with Brad Marchand. Maybe Brad Marchand was just holding him down the whole time. Ryan, and this is really bad news. Out for a month until Christmas is Ryan Kujawenski with a concussion, which is not what I needed. So that's really going to force me to move things around for sure now. So I think, with that one, that's going to affect so many lines. Keep this in the video, by the way, in the future for editing. Keep this little part in. I'm going to have to move. So basically, I'm going to have to move Polkinen and Teravainen up and then throw. My call-up guy is Bourneval. I'm just going to have to throw Bourneval at 4th line left wing. Well, this is also going to affect my power play. So it's just basically, I don't know who's going to go in there. I guess you put Polkinen on the power play. Kujawenski's a big loss for this team for a month. That's a guy who's playing my second line left wing, so it kind of does shift and alter things around until we can get back healthy. Begris is back. I'm going to continue for right now and wait for him to get fully healthy. So that means Ryan Murphy, I'm going to allow him to play at least one more game, and then Murphy is back in the press box. 12-6-1, 3-15-1 Minnesota Wild team. They're struggling. We got to beat these guys with Ryan Murphy in the lineup, and we lose 6-2. I don't know what it is that's gotten Duchesne to pop off the way that he has this year. I'm very pleasantly surprised. I'm not going to complain about it. But there's another loss. Clearly missing Kujawenski in the lineup is Colborne. Or not Colborne, I'm sorry. Oh boy, I forgot who did I call up and put in the lineup at 4th line left wing? Is that guy affecting the team's production? The lines have been shifted around with the injury, and now Tamernis is down with a sore shoulder. You can't play through a sore shoulder. Are you kidding me? Oh, I didn't even realize that Ming was playing. He's playing through a day-to-day injury. Duchesne might, if Duchesne could put up a 40-goal season, I don't think he hasn't hit 40. I don't think we've had a single player in our GM mode hit 40 goals in a season. It would be amazing if Duchesne could do it. We win 2-1 over the Maple Leafs, so we've at least had the Toronto Maple Leafs number. I know that we do not face the Edmonton Oilers for that Stanley Cup final rematch until the back half of the season, closer to the deadline, so we have a while. Kolzak Nikitin in net, so there's my created goalie. And my goodness, man, I got to check in on Philadelphia and see how well they're doing with my created goalie, Noah Yosen, in the net for that team. Now, can we please, for the love of God, please stay healthy for once? You got to be freaking kidding me. Now, Timo Pulkkinen is down with an injury, still missing Kudrwinski for 2 more weeks. That is another month-long injury. The injuries have been brutal. Laurent Dauphin is back to 100%. He had a season. We got to check in on a couple of teams. I want to see what Philadelphia does this year. I want to see what kind of season the Coyotes have. Derek Mathers, that's a no. We got to get back in the win column. Got to beat the Blackhawks. We do 3-0. It's a huge win. Kudrwinski 2 weeks out. Pulkkinen is 4 weeks out. Duchesne's hot stretch has kind of cooled off a little bit, as we expected it would. He couldn't keep up that torrid pace that he had scoring goals. We lose 3-2. I want to look at my goaltenders' numbers. Let's take a look at that. Okay, Zach Fucale, what are you doing in the games that you played in? You played in 9 games, 6-2 record. Wow. Fucale's the guy. I got to manage this. Fucale's clearly the goaltender to go with. What's Carey Price's numbers looking like this season? I think Price is starting to drop the ball. He's played 21 games. Oh my goodness, 3.13. Yep. Price is getting worse. His best years are behind him. It's Fucale's net. This is Zach Fucale's net. Full stop. It's Fucale. I gotta micromanage this every few games. Oh, I hope the game keeps Fucale as the starting goaltender for this matchup with Ottawa. We cannot play around with this anymore. We got to get it on the straight and narrow here with this team. Price is dropping the ball. He has like a 900 even save percentage, and his GAA is super high. I don't know who was in net for that last game. I'm going to sim up to this game against Chicago, and I'm going to set it again. I'm going to have to turn off auto-rotate goaltenders, because I guarantee you it's rotating Price in there more. It's giving the starts to the higher-rated goaltender on overall rating, but Price's best days, I think, are behind him, and he may cost this team a playoff spot. Okay, I turned off auto-rotate goalies. This is Zach Fucale's net. It's just time to give the youngster a full-on run at it. This is his team, and I'm not going to change goalies or swap it until... And there's Kudrwinski back. That's a big break for us, actually. We needed that, because I had Ryan Murphy playing on the wing. That's how dire things have gotten, and I didn't have the cap space to call a forward up. Okay, Kudrwinski back in the lineup. And we're just losing games, man. We are losing games. We're now up almost back to 500 hockey. We're playing 500 hockey with this team. Duchesne is up to 16 goals. I think I'm going to take a pause because we're about at Christmas time. It's a good opportunity to look at some stats, look at some standings, because for this recording session, I'm going to edit this all together in one video, but I'm going to go a couple more games. Yeah, I'm gonna go one more game. I'm gonna swap Price back in there, make sure that Carey Price gets in the net for this back-to-back set. And then I'm gonna look at some stats and some standings and just observe maybe what needs to be changed with this team. So let's play Carolina. They're 18-12-2. This team just needs to rally. We need to find a way to rally. A win would be a nice start, and we do. We win 4-3. So now it's Carey Price's net for this game against Washington. And we'll see how well he plays in this game. He's well rested, so he should come into this game refreshed. And we lose 7-4, and Tamernis has been knocked out with a month-long concussion. It rains and it pours on this team. Landon Bow on waivers. I'll view the player. What's he making? Just curious what kind of money he's making. Oh my goodness, an 80 overall, making that much money. I mean, I might be better off with that in the net than the 2 goalies that I have right now. So let's take a peek. Well, let's go to edit. Edit lines is a quick way to do this. You know what? Never mind. Let's look at team standings first. So I'm only curious about the division first. Let's start with the division. We are 34 points. We're hanging way back at the division, but we could close within the 39-point Ottawa Senators, the 39-point Tampa Bay Lightning. We're even on points with Detroit right now. Toronto trying to catch, Florida trying to catch, Buffalo still in the chase to get in the playoff spot in this division. I'm curious about the Eastern Conference now. How is it looking in the East? So the leader in the East is Columbus with 47 points. I mean, we're not going to win the conference unless we just go on a tear. We're going to have to go on an unreal tear. We are outside looking in as of right now in the playoff picture. So there's the way the East shakes out if you want to pause and take a greater look at it. But what I'm curious about is compared to our Eastern, how many goals for per game? So goal scoring for this team isn't an issue. We are scoring goals. We're one of the best goal scoring teams in the entire Eastern Conference. So goal scoring is not a problem. But we can't keep the buck out of the back of the net. So we're basically giving up as many goals as we're scoring right now. And that's not a recipe to win. We need to be doing more what Carolina, Ottawa, Boston are doing. Forget about doing what Columbus is doing. I don't think anybody's going to do what Columbus is doing goaltending-wise. The power play is horrendous. So the power play needs a lot of work. So I'm going to change that. The PK is horrendous as well. So everything's bad. Special teams are bad. We're a bad team all the way around. We just can't stop the puck. We can score. I'm really happy with the goals for per game. Where's my goals for per game? We're scoring 2.79. I mean, it's not far from 3, a shade under 3 goals per game. Usually that should be enough to win you games and get you into a playoff spot. In the Western Conference, the defending Stanley Cup champion Edmonton Oilers are battling it out with their Alberta neighbor for the lead in the Western Conference. Would that be a President's Trophy right now? No, Columbus would take home the President's Trophy if the season ended today, at least based on points anyway, and not everyone has played the same amount of games either, so you would have to look at points percentage. But anyway, the Edmonton Oilers are still the crown of the Western Conference right now. Phoenix is not quite having the season they did a year ago, but Vancouver is right there. I'm going to guess that McDavid is really helping the Vancouver Canucks. Oh yeah, man, look at these teams. 3.21 goals per game? What is McDavid? What is Edmonton? What are they feeding their players there? So Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton is a wild three-headed monster in the Western Conference, all playing in the same division, right? Aren't they all in the Pacific Division? Oh my God, that Pacific Division is nasty. Phoenix is right in there. Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, they're just going to bite each other's heads off in that division. So there's your Western Conference. Who's the worst teams in the West? San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim. Okay. Remember, I wanted to get to that Stanley Cup final and face McDavid and the Canucks, but right now, as it stands, this Canadiens team is not going to make the playoffs. Okay, what's the production like? Okay, Duchesne is producing. I don't have a problem with Duchesne. He's got 18 goals, 26 points in 33 games, 24 points in 33 games. Pacioretty. So my top 6 is, kind of producing. I think there could be even more production from some of these guys. I'd like to see more out of Su Kai Ming, 9 goals, 21 points in 33. I'd like to see more. Ryan Kudrwinski missed time with an injury. We know about that. Voda, 7 goals and 10 points in 33 games. 7 goals playing on my bottom 6 is very noteworthy. Maximilian Weiss with 2 goals, 3 points, 1 assist, but 98 penalty minutes. So he's got to really chill out on that blue line. He's taken way too many penalties. Definitely not going to be winning the Lady Byng Trophy. So is anyone heavily in the negative? I'm going to guess Weiss is heavily in the negative. Actually, no, it's Tamernis. Heavily. In fact, Weiss is a even plus minus. So, well, I don't know. I don't know what the explanation is there. My goaltenders, Fucale is, his GAA has skyrocketed a bit. So it has, it's come back down to earth for Fucale. But yeah, Carey Price, I think the tabloids would be saying Carey Price is washed. I think he is totally washed. Sub 90 save percentage. My goaltending and my team defense and goaltending is probably just simply not getting it done. I'm going back to Hedman and Subban, and we're going to do this for the power play. Well, Murphy can stay there. Okay, so some changes now. We simulate after Christmas with some changes. Having looked at our stats, I have Hedman and Subban is back as a defensive pairing on different units. They're just all around together again. So I have rejoined Subban and Hedman as a D pairing. Power play, penalty kill, 5-on-5, and it seems to be working because we are now suddenly winning games. Who was in net for those games? Because I have auto-rotate goalies off, and I think I kept Carey Price in there. Carey Price was in the net for those games. That might be a huge lift of confidence. Pulkkinen is returning from his injury, so we're mostly back to healthy. And how about that? We are missing one player. It is Tamernis on the blue line. I'm going to give this first game to Price, and we'll see what he does against Ottawa. And if he plays well, because we've had so many days off, I think we just go right back to Carey Price if he wins against Ottawa and plays well. And it's a loss. It's a 2-1 loss was that in regulation? Or was that, yeah, that was in regulation. I'm going to go to Fucale now. I cannot have any extended losing. If we start losing, we're going to have to switch up goaltenders. So for me, it's just riding the hot hand. And if we get on a bit of a streak, if we start losing 2 or 3 games in a row, then you switch goalies. And of course, we lose to Tampa Bay as I threw Fucale back in the net. I just can't figure it out with this team. It's that same problem. We can score goals. Duchesne has not been a problem scoring goals this season, but we can't keep the puck out of our net this year. Oh, how to solve it? How do I solve this team? Is there any saving this season? I mean, how close are we? I mean, do we make a trade? Maybe we try to shake things up with a trade of some sort. I mean, I told you that I was looking, and there's a big one, Severson for at least a few days, so that's not terrible. Man, the headaches with the injuries to 2 defensemen really sucks, and limited with cap space. I just had to throw my lines around in a sloppy mess, my D pairs around in a sloppy mess, and I had to double shift Maximilian Weiss. Let's just see how it works out here. As well, we're on a win streak now, and Fucale is the goaltender, by the way, so we're on a bit of a win streak. Maybe I found out the secret sauce to get this team trending in the right direction. It's crazy. Duchesne has had no problem scoring goals. He's on a really good... He really is on about a 40-ish goal pace this season, and there's Damon Severson back in the lineup. Perfect timing. Oh, and that was the Stanley Cup final rematch, and we lose 4-3. I got so caught up with the injuries that I didn't even notice that we faced the Oilers at home, and we lose again. We lost 4-3. Did we lose at least in extra time? No, I think we lost this game in regulation. Yeah, we did 4-3, and the Oilers are a tank. Look at that, 53 points in the standings in the Pacific Division as of January 18 in the game world. We are clawing back, though. We're really close. We are hanging on to trying to get into that. The wild card right now would be ourselves and the Islanders. So we would secure a wild card spot. So McDavid leads the league. But look at that. Matt Duchesne. He is right in the conversation with Johnny Gaudreau and Connor McDavid for the league leaders in goal scoring so far. The point leader, McDavid, 54 points, and underneath that is Johnny Gaudreau. So Gaudreau and McDavid are enjoying themselves this season. The leaders in save percentage is Noah Yosin is up there. He is on that list. Let's keep it going. In Fucale, we trust. We totally believe in Zach Fucale. He's going to carry this team to a playoff spot if we have to die trying to do it. We are going to get in. Oh, that's a big loss, but it's not too long of an injury. It's Victor Hedman. Oh, there you go. Continue. Man, I'm telling you, this is crazy. I get one D back healthy and another defenseman goes down. It's Victor Hedman this time, so there goes my top pairing. And my plan of joining PK Subban with Victor Hedman is thwarted by yet another injury. Despite the fact that I have a maxed out med staff, I keep getting hit with injury after injury after injury. And speaking of injuries, now Nito Niederreiter has bruised his hand. This game, it takes and it takes and it takes away lately, but we are hot. Zach Fucale is the man in net. He's ready to go. I don't know if I actually want to give Fucale back-to-back games. I mean, are we trusting Fucale here? I mean, we have a long rest after we play St. Louis, so Fucale's just got to get the job done. Win 2 games for me? And he does not, but we did lose that game. We got a point. We lost that game in extra time to St. Louis, so we got a point out of it. And there you go, Victor Hedman finally back. That wasn't long, so that's good for me. So, we're up to the All-Star break, and I am doing this in 2 parts as far as a recording session on different days. As far as that goes, of course, when I edit things together, it should be a seamless edit, and it shouldn't be very evident that I'm doing this in 2 different recording sessions, aside from the fact that I brought it up. So let's take a look at the All-Star teams and the lineups for the East. Who are the... Well, let's just take a look at everybody. We'll take a look at the East and the West because, you know, I've got created players. I have players that I've edited as well, edited their attributes, and Ovechkin, Crosby, Drouin line makes a lot of sense. Actually, I don't know how old Alex Ovechkin is at this point in the GM mode, but Crosby and Ovi are getting up there closer to retirement age, and they're playing on that line, of course, with Jonathan Drouin. A last go around. Nice to see Ovechkin and Crosby on the same line, by the way. Tursunbayev with Sagan and Kessel. I believe that is a Red Wings player, Tursunbayev. Might be a first overall draft pick at one point in the GM mode. Conacher, Ennis, Voracek. Then 4th line is Duclair, Ikonen, and Bjorkstrand to round out that 4th line. You do have Subban. He did make the All-Star game this year. So PK Subban on a new contract is an All-Star. And his brother Jordan Subban is also on the East All-Stars. Who is Jordan playing for in the GM mode? He might still be... I don't know. I don't know what team he's on. I might have to find that information out at some point. And, of course, the goaltender would be Storm Phaneuf, backed up by Tuukka Rask. So Storm Phaneuf on, I think he's a Washington Capitals goaltender. So there's your East All-Stars. And the West All-Stars, Gaudreau edited to be a beast, and he is a beast. But you know who is a total beast in this game? One of the highest-rated players in the game, Connor McDavid, with Patrick Kane as well on that line. That is a hell of a first line that All-Star team has put together. Parise, Taves, and Tyson Ness. How in the hell, what kind of season is Tyson Ness having to get on the second line All-Star team? Sam Reinhart, Kopitar, Bertrand, then Howard Luck, who was with the Edmonton Oilers, might still be with the Oilers, makes it to the All-Star game as well. Then the deep pairs, Axel Arnersson makes the All-Star game. First time I've seen him in an All-Star game. That's my created defenseman on Vancouver. And Vancouver is having a great season as well. There's your second D pair, third D pair, and the goaltender, I'm curious. So there's no Noah Yosend in the All-Star game. Jorgen Hedman and Eric Brassard, not a created goalie. Neither one of those guys are created goalies. So I was hoping to see Noah Yosend. He would be on the East All-Star team if he made it here. And so begins what you could consider to be the back half simulation and the run to the trade deadline day. So to the trade deadline, what kind of moves? I don't know that there will be any moves because I am strapped for cap space. In fact, as of right now, with injuries, so this is with injuries, I have like no cap space anyway. So I don't have a trade to be made unless it's a roster player for a roster player, and it would just have to be a deal that would be sensible. The only players, I don't know who I could see moving off of this team. I could see trying to upgrade a 34-year-old Max Pacioretty, but what team would want to take on Max Pacioretty at this stage of his career? I don't know. He's still very good and very productive. In fact, what kind of season has he put together at the All-Star break? A 6-goal. Wow. Yep. You know, he's playing on my first line. I really legitimately am interested in trying to make a deal to get rid of Pacioretty. I'd be willing to package a draft pick and Pacioretty to upgrade that player. So that's what's on my mind. It's a very interesting situation to deal with a lack of production from Pacioretty. He is one of my top assist getters. Maybe he's just assisting on all of Matt Duchene's goals. It seems that we've got a good combination going there, and we've obviously been successful with Pacioretty on this team. Oh, by the way, who's my goaltender going into this simulation? It is still Zach Fucale. Okay. Would anyone take on, Pacioretty and Carey Price at this point in the career? Maybe you just ride with Fucale, dump Carey Price. You got to ride out the GM mode. In my opinion, you got to keep Carey Price. Carey Price is on for the rest of the GM mode, or at least for the rest of this contract that he's currently on. So we continue simulating, and we got a nice W over the Minnesota Wild and over the Nashville Predators. We were hot going into the game against, that's a pass on that player. We were hot going into the All-Star break anyway in the game against Nashville. So we just got to continue to ride high with this group. Fucale is potentially going to carry this team, and that's a big one with PK Subban down until March 29. That's a long-term injury for Subban, but we get Niederreiter back soon. It says Nino is cleared to play. I'm not playing around with that injury, being that it's a 3-day injury. Ryan Murphy slides in, so I'm going to let Nino get fully healthy. He may miss another game or two. I'm going to let him get fully healthy. We have no Subban until I think it was March 29th, so that's past the deadline. We could look to maybe get a cheap defense, but I don't know what we do. Without Subban, it's a big loss. Without PK Subban, the team's just going to have to make do for 7 weeks. This could potentially doom our entire season. So here's the way that I see it. If we're not a playoff team, we got to make decisions. Do we think we're a playoff team? What kind of standing will we be in at the trade deadline? And we need to make a decision from there on maybe on Pacioretty, maybe on Carey Price. But I'm trying. Obviously, that would be a nice ad if we could get Altshuler. Let me take a look. Well, it would be a decent ad, I guess. It would just be. You know what? Never mind. Pass on the player. I don't know. I just saw the player and I thought, that could be a decent goaltender. So now I'm going to change and go back to Carey Price in the goal crease. Got to give Fucale at least the night off. If we have back-to-backs, I am going to swap goaltenders. So maybe we have a better chance of winning. Price hasn't seen the net in a while as well. Just please come in here and get a victory. We do 3-2 win with Carey Price in the net. So the next game against Buffalo, I want to turn back to Zach Fucale. And we're just going to, we may even just potentially rotate this tandem down the stretch. Wow, Weiss, he has collected 175 penalty minutes to this point in the season. This is going to become, I got to change goaltenders first. This could be a very interesting stretch down the season because we're going to be paying attention to the standings if it stays close. And I want to say that the standings are very close as it is right now. We lost 3-1 in that game with Fucale in the net. Best lines down in Hamilton. One more game with Fucale. We lost 3-1, so we didn't give him a whole lot of goal support in that game. Could have been an empty net goal as well that gave the Sabres the third goal in that loss. We just got to get a win, and we do. We bounce back with a 4-2 win over Detroit. So now it's time to just take a look at how the standings are. How pressed are we to win games right now? Johnny Gaudreau leads the NHL in points. I'm guessing Phoenix is having another beast year. McDavid with 30 goals leads the league, but look who's hot on the trail. Matt Duchene. He is hoping to put his name in the hat for the Richard Trophy, and we do sit in a top spot in the division. There is some separation from Toronto to Ottawa, so there's a huge amount of separation from those bottom three, that squad, and then the top four in our division. There is separation. Detroit is still hot on the heels as well of both ourselves and the Senators in the Atlantic Division. The wild card right now is, it looks like it's Washington and Ottawa, but look at the separation in the Metro Division as well. The 55-point Devils and below that are all teams out of the playoffs. Brad Marchand will not haunt my team in the playoffs because Pittsburgh looks like they are pretty much out of it as we are right now. Edmonton with Phoenix, and then Calgary below that. Oh no, Vancouver. Don't miss the playoffs, Vancouver. You got Connor McDavid. He's having a beast year. He's tearing it up with that team. And that's just how competitive the Pacific Division is. It's still within reach. Vancouver at 62 points. San Jose at 62 points. Calgary, Phoenix, Edmonton, a three-headed monster now at the top three of the Pacific Division, and it's tight between the Jets, the Avalanche, and the Blues in the Central Division. So just an updated look at the standings on February 18, 2023 in the game world. And look at this slate that we have coming up. A few back-to-back games. It was Was it Carey? Who's in the net right now? I think it was Carey Price, or is it? No, it was Fucale against Detroit. I'm going to give Fucale the game against the Devils. We got to play this one game at a time, very cautiously, because I think who I go to in net could be the difference between whether we miss or make the playoffs. So I'm going to have to micromanage this as we go through the simulation. I'm trusting Fucale. I got to do a scout assignment. I'm going to trust Fucale against the Devils. Forget about the AHL. I don't care about that right now. I just want my team to get me some W's, get me points in the standings. This is where it gets so nervous. As the sim goes bad, I'm going to Price for that. That was a tough loss. I'm going back to Carey Price. Price against Pittsburgh. These are big games. You got to show up. If Price starts winning some games, if we start winning some games with him in the net, you may ride out the season with, that's a big one, 5-1 win. I'm going back to Price. You had a great game, and I'm going to reward you for that great game with another game in the net. Duchesne is up to 28 goals. He's having a great season right now. I mean, Matt Duchesne is carrying the offense. Price gets another win, and Subban is now just 4 weeks out. Do you go back to Price? One more game. We got back-to-backs here. So I'm going to play Price against the Flames. And I'm definitely playing Fucale in the next game after this. I think it was Dallas. So it's against Calgary at home. Carey Price is the goaltender for this game. And he's going to pick us a W. It's 5-2 win. Price is getting it done right now. Going back to Fucale now for the game against Dallas on the road. So we got a back-to-back with travel. Now facing the Stars. As we inch ever closer to deadline day, we get a win. I am pulling all the right strings right now for this team. Now we need to look at the standings. Let's just take a peek. So Gaudreau, 69 points. He leads the NHL in points. He is right behind McDavid. But look who's right behind that. It is Matt Duchesne with 28 goals. Is Ovechkin and Drouin, are their best days behind them as far as goal scoring in the league goes? Is McDavid the reigning Maurice Richard Trophy winner? I do not know. Man, despite all the wins, we have barely made any ground in the division. That's how good Tampa Bay and Ottawa have been. But we have that pull away from Detroit. That's crucial. We have pulled away from the 5th spot in the division. We want to try to finish in a top 3 spot. But at least at a minimum finish in a wild card position. And we have a nice safety net right now. As far as wild card positioning goes, the biggest threat for a wild card spot right now would be Detroit. So if we fell to the wild card positioning, we would just need to stay above the Detroit Red Wings, because at this stage of the season, man, New Jersey has a lot of ground to make up, sitting at 61 points. Likewise for the Maple Leafs. Do we think that there's an updated look at the West, by the way? So Vancouver is still they're hanging on by a fingernail right now in the West. They are not in a playoff spot right now. As we begin simulating past Nashville, do we think that there is any potential trade? I just don't think there's a trade out there. I may look at Pacioretty's stats going into the deadline, because I do think that's a player in a position that can be upgraded. But again, he's getting a lot of assists this season and seems to be enjoying playing on that first line with Matt Duchesne, because he's got 34 assists. He's just setting up Duchesne for all the Genos, and well, there's the deadline. So I'm going to go back to Price ahead of the deadline. Okay, Carey Price, get me a win. We're playing the Avalanche. Just play a good game, get me a win. We're going toward the deadline where I'm going to have decisions to make. We lose 4-1. Trading block. I'm going to put Pacioretty on the trade block. I just want to see what other teams would potentially want for Carey Price, or for Max Pacioretty. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Carey Price right now. So there it is. I've added Max Pacioretty. I'm going to keep that first round pick. I don't want to trade Fucale, but what about if we put Price on the block? I do want to see what other teams would potentially approach me with for Carey Price. He's 35 with the last year of his deal. He's down to a 3.5-star potential. I mean, quite clearly, Fucale is the guy in net going forward. Now, can I look at Pacioretty's stats? I can't look at that from here, but that's okay. My wants are, how can I edit my wants? I want a first line forward, maximum age 35. Yeah, I'll do a 35. Potential minimum range, 3.5-star. Maximum range 5, potential accuracy, it really doesn't matter. And Fucale is going to be my goaltender against Calgary. going into the deadline. A scout assignment again. Get me a win. Get me a win going into the deadline. And I don't think I'm going to go ahead and anticipate. There's a win. Oh my goodness. And Ming is out until March 29th, which is the same timeline that Subban is expected to return. That's a big hit to my team. See, we're missing that player at second line center. This is a huge hit to my team as we hit the deadline before the season winds down. But basically, everyone's going to move up here. I didn't know Niederreiter was sitting at... Wow, Niederreiter's been sitting for a long time. So who's going to play center? Here we go. There's 4 hours remaining at the deadline. I can propose a trade to potentially upgrade Max Pacioretty. But, I mean, you'd have to find one that makes sense. If we... And a team would have to have cap space. So let's try to find a reasonable deal to potentially upgrade Max Pacioretty, even if it's getting a player that's a similar age to Pacioretty. By the way, this is Max Pacioretty at the deadline. This is what he's done. 12 goals, 47 points. So he's upped his total. He scored 6 goals since the last time I checked in. He's a plus 10, so he's not an issue. It's not an issue for me if I don't trade Pacioretty. But if I can find a player in return that makes sense and find a team that wants Pacioretty, I mean, he's got, 3 years left at this deal, so he's got term on this contract, and he's not aged out. He hasn't dropped off yet. I backed out of it. I just backed out. I think I'm going to shut down the phones. There's not many teams that, number one, want Pacioretty, and it just, to me, it doesn't make sense. We just got to ride with the team that we got. Although, I'm going to just shut down for this hour. And, I mean, we could look at trying to get a defenseman. Is there any trades? Let me look at any trades that have gone down. So, Grabner to Toronto from the Islanders. That looks like it's gone down here on deadline day. Wow. Look at this deal between Nashville and Washington. They get Holtby, Nashville does, for Kostitsyn, Hornquist, and Gustafsson. Okay, there's a trade there between Florida and Nashville. Greening, I always forget to look at some of this stuff. Andrew Shaw going from Nashville to Winnipeg. Wasn't he acquired by Nashville at last year's deadline? Bozak to Chicago from San Jose. Yemelin acquired by Chicago from the Rangers. Ottawa acquires a few picks, and CJ Clutterbuck, Clutterbuck, center Jay Clutterbuck, not CJ. Mathot goes to Philadelphia. There's another trade there. Dubinsky and Brunner going to Florida. Georges to Toronto, and that's all the trades that have gone down for this Season 10 simulation. And that is it. That's it for the deadline. Is that all the big moves that were made here on deadline day? I just can't find a deal that makes sense, and I simply don't have the cap space. So we are waiting on Sukai Ming. By the way, I didn't realize Niederreiter came back from his injury, and I sat Niederreiter so he could get healthy, and then I forgot to unhealthy. You know what I mean? I forgot to put him back in the lineup as a healthy body. And so he was just sitting out as a healthy scratch, and we lose 2-0 coming out of the deadline with Subban and Ming missing 2 weeks with injury. So as long as Duchesne can stay healthy, I like the way that our team can shape up, even with those 2 players missing. But those are 2 key players missing. Fucali is the goalie. I'm going back to Price. We've lost a couple of games. Well, we lost 1 game, and we didn't even give any goal support to our goaltender. But I'm going to try Carey Price here on the road against Vancouver. You kind of going to have to flip-flop between the 2 goaltenders down the stretch here. But as long as we win more games than we lose, and that does not help. Nope, immediately back to Zach Fucali in net after that performance. And I'm basically riding Fucali from here. If that's the way Price is going to play, with these being must-win games for this team, I can't have that. And I didn't pay attention to... We'll see it at the end of the season. We'll see the stats. But I'm curious about the kind of year that Sukai Ming has put together, because there has been potential for him to be a 40-goal scorer, but obviously I don't think that's going to be the case this year. So we did get the win with Fucali back in against Boston. We're going to be playing the Tampa Bay Lightning on the road. Fucali again is going to be the goaltender, and unless there's back-to-back games, he's basically the goaltender going forward for the rest of the season, and that's a lot more like it. We're getting goal support, and we're getting goaltending from Fucali, and we're playing good D as well, probably in front of Fucali. with Dumoulin going down. Okay, that's the AHL, by the way. So Dumoulin is not on my NHL team. We don't have any back-to-backs coming up. I'm going to pay attention. I think if Fucale does have an off night, so we give up a lot of goals or we just seem like the team potentially plays bad, at this point in the season, I'm just going to go with continue. I want to get Subban back healthy. We just need to get Subban back healthy. We need to make do until PK returns. We're playing a struggling Philadelphia team, so if we can just get the win, we do 7-3. That's a lot more like it. And then we'll play Philadelphia again. We can hopefully get Subban back fully healthy so he's not playing through a playable injury against the Islanders. But like I said, if we win more games than we lose, we should be fine. And after this Philly game, I'll take a look at the standings. Then we'll get Subban inserted back into the lineup. But someone's probably going to go down with an injury as soon as I add Subban back. So the points leader is now Connor McDavid. He's looking to win that Art Ross trophy. I haven't even looked at save percentage, but there's your leaders in save percentage and GAA. Not a single Canadian goaltender on that list. Then goals leader, wow, Gaudreau surpasses McDavid. And Matt Duchene is further down that list, stuck at 31 goals. He has been for a while. It's not impossible, but not likely that Duchene catches and surpasses McDavid or Gaudreau for the Maurice Richard Trophy. The assist leaders, there's not a Canadian on that list, but how about Crosby? He's feeding the puck to somebody. He's got 44 assists this season. And an updated look at the standings, because I promised I would do this. We're hanging in there, man. We are clinging very tightly to a top spot in the division, top 3 spots, with the Red Wings closing in. So the Red Wings have not fully rolled over and died just yet on this season. They are looking to get into a wild card spot. And in fact, I don't know who would have the wild card spot right now. Obviously, Tampa secures a wild card spot if the season ended today. But I don't know who has the tiebreaker between Detroit and Washington. So someone would have to figure that out. The West, Vancouver is back into it. In fact, Vancouver is hoping to hunt down the Coyotes and the Oilers for a top spot in the division in the Pacific. The Flames hanging on. I want to see I want to see those 4 teams make the playoffs. I want to see Phoenix in. I want to see Edmonton in this year. And I want to see Vancouver in and obviously get Gaudreau and Calgary in. Increases the odds that if we can make the playoffs and make the final, we could play one of those teams in the Stanley Cup final. All right, resuming simulation. March 22nd in the game world, Sukai Ming, soon to return as well. PK Subban is back from his injury. And we win 4-3. Big time for Subban to return. The team needs to get hot. It is Zach Fucale's net. I'm so glad this team has Fucale because it seems like I'm going to hold off on Sukai Ming for a few days. Let him get fully healthy as well. Same game plan as what we had with Subban. Because I'm so glad because Carey Price has kind of dropped the ball this season, and now Fucale has a shutout. I mean, what a year for Fucale. We do have a day off between these games, so I can afford to run with Fucale in the net. And I'll just give Sukai Ming one more game off, and he'll return healthy from that injury. It's crazy the goal scoring that we've gotten, and Duchene, in the last handful of games, he has not surpassed 31 goals. So he's still stuck at 31. We're playing the Devils, 2-1 win. Teravainen is injured stomach. What in the world? Did the other team poison him or something while he was on the bench or something? They put poison in his Gatorade bottle and he's out with an injury. What the hell is that injury? I mean, Teravainen is an injury I can live with. Him going down. We're in the final stretch here of the regular season. Fucale is getting hot. The team is hot. Teravainen's ready to play now. Okay, game coming up against Carolina. 2 teams that have almost equal records. I believe Carolina is a leader in the Metro Division. Here's an updated look at the points again. Just going to update it here. March the 31st. And we have a couple of weeks. We have a couple weeks left in the season. So what do we have left? We have these 2 games. So 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 games remaining on the season. Buffalo is our final opponent on the schedule. The last team we will play in the regular season. Is Buffalo in a playoff spot? That's my curiosity because it seems like the team that we play at the end of the season, in the last game, in game 82, we end up playing in the first round. It's happened so often in the GM mode that way. So my question is, is Buffalo a playoff team, and will we potentially see them in the playoffs? We're going to find out. Let's just go ahead and look at the division standings. So, no, Buffalo is one of the worst teams in the league, so we will guarantee not see Buffalo. We are looking like we're pretty much a playoff team. I'm not concerned at all about our playoff status, and if it started today, we'd be playing the Ottawa Senators in round 1, and we would not have home ice advantage for that series. So, updated look, McDavid has overtaken Gaudreau for the goal-scoring lead in the NHL. It's just a battle between those two, but look at Drouin just silently creeping right up there, and Cam Atkinson as well. The point leader, McDavid, looks like he's taking home the Art Ross, but Drouin is also saying not so fast with any of those trophies as he catches up to Connor McDavid. The Pacific Division, oh no, Calgary, you got to get in. You got Gaudreau putting this great season together offensively. You've been impressive all year. Did they make the playoffs last year? I forgot if Calgary missed the playoffs or made it last season. I think they made it in last season. You got to get in with this stud of a player in Johnny Gaudreau. Flames are not out of it, but they got to start winning some games. They probably have very close to 9 games remaining themselves. And, a wild card spot is not out of the question either. With St. Louis sitting there at 85 points, you can definitely climb into a wild card spot. So we're going to go with Fucale against Carolina. He's currently the goaltender as we sim this game, and we win that. I'm going to go back to Price so Fucale can get a night off. And Price has basically become the backup goalie for this team. He at least has one more game that he'll get in there for before the season ends, and it could basically be the end of the Carey Price tenure in Montreal. We want to give him that's what we did not need. And that might be right as we start the first game of the playoffs. So Ming is definitely done until the first round. So it's the same thing we had before. We just move everybody up. So we lost 1-0 with Price in the net. So I'm gonna go back. Let's go back to Fucale. Back to Fucale. I might go to Price for the game against Florida, and then back to Fucale for the game against Buffalo, and try to round out the season from there with hopefully no more games for Carey Price after that. And there's the scout assignment. I was wondering where it was. I don't even know if I can't look at it. I don't know if I maintained my first round draft pick, and I can't look at I can't look at it through trade negotiations because it's grayed out since we passed the deadline. So anyway, I don't know if I had my first round pick. It might be a good year to have my first round pick, but I'm anticipating that we are going to be a playoff team. There's a 4-1 loss. That was Fucale in net. I'm going to go back to Price for the Panthers game, then back to Fucale against Buffalo. Price in there for this game. 44, 20, 29, and 3. There's a win for Carey Price. Might be the last win as a member of the Montreal Canadiens for Carey Price. We'll swap it back around, switch it back around. Fucale in net. Just got to finish the season. Number 1 on a high and no injuries. But did I speak too soon by mentioning injuries? I did not. I can deal with a 4-1 loss. Whatever. It is what it is. It's back-to-back 4-1 losses for Zach Fucale, not to the Buffalo Sabres. We've lost 4-1 to Columbus and then 4-1 to Buffalo, and my brain is turning to mush now. Drouin has tied McDavid on points. What a finish to this season we're going to have. Gaudreau hits 40 goals. The chase is on. The chase is indeed on. Look at Laurent Dauphin now in the conversation. Laurent Dauphin playing with my created player, Loic Arnaud, has done wonders for that kid, and we are now second in the division. That would set us up for a first-round meeting with the Boston Bruins if it stays this way. So we're pretty much a playoff team. We should be locked into a playoff spot. It is definitely Fucale from here to the end of the season. So we are a playoff team, pretty much a guarantee. It's just a question of who are we playing in the first round. What teams are going to make it in? Fucale in net against the Red Wings. This is a team that's outside looking in, so you should be able to beat these guys on paper. Sukai Ming is available. I'm going to hold off on that until he's fully healthy. No point in playing him and risking a worse injury right before the playoffs. Oh, did Philly get in? I didn't pay attention. Is Philly a playoff team? They have Noah Yosin, my goaltender. I got to think of my created players. Because I know Vancouver has Arneson, and so we got to see if Vancouver is going to make the playoffs. Fucale with a 30-win season. I don't know how many games played. We're going to look at stats in it. Oh, it's only until April 17th, so that's actually right before the playoffs. But you know what? You can just put whoever you want in there. Oh, man, at least it's April 17th was his timeline, which is right ahead of the first round for Duchesne. Su Kai Ming has got to finish off the rest of the season at first-line center. So Duchesne, he went dry, man. He dried up. He stopped scoring goals. He's stuck at 31 goals for the season. The simulation just said that's enough. No more goals for Matt Duchesne. So one more game to play. Should we sim? Well, first of all, before we sim this game, let's look at the standings and just see where everybody sits going into the season finale. So the Vezina, could it go to Brassard? He's got a .933 save percentage. McDavid, man, that Art Ross trophy. It looks like McDavid might win that Art Ross trophy. Gaudreau level on goals with McDavid, entering potentially game 82 out of 82 for those two teams. So we're in a playoff spot. We might be. It looks like if we win this game, depending on what happens with Ottawa, we could finish first in the division. Things are getting spicy here at the end of the season. Nothing is a guarantee. I don't know what the whole situation is in terms of like tiebreakers and everything. Will we be able to surpass the Senators? It looks like the Coyotes have won back-to-back President's Trophy. The Flames are going to miss the playoffs. The Flames are going to miss the playoffs unless they still have games in hand on LA. To surpass LA, they are probably not going to make the playoffs. Vancouver is. Edmonton is going to make the playoffs. The reigning Stanley Cup champion Edmonton Oilers are in. We'll see how all this plays out after we sim this. So let's just sim this game, and please no injuries. We're just going to do it from this screen just to get through it. Sim 1 period. It is Buffalo 1-0 after 1. Buffalo 3-0 after 2. Buffalo 4-0 after 60 minutes of play. We don't even get on the board, but we are a playoff team, and we're locked into that second spot in the division with that loss, guaranteeing ourselves, I think, a date with the Boston Bruins in round 1. No injuries coming out of that game, right? And Duchesne coming back healthy. I mean, that's all that you can ask for. And a playoff spot. Look at Maximilian Weiss, 247 penalty minutes. I guarantee you that led the NHL in penalty minutes. Duchesne is back. Okay, we're all set up for the playoffs. It's going to be Boston. I've got my lines in order. Everything worked out perfectly. And as far as injuries, right before, it's going to be Boston in the first round. Once again, we get the Boston Bruins. We will try to have that strong playoff run. We're going to look at the playoff tree. We're going to look at stats and hopefully wrap this video up super quickly. But we got fully healthy right in time for game 1. No moves at the deadline for my team. That's right. I got to go look at let's look at the playoff tree first. Oh, man, I tell you, my brain's scrambled eggs right now, and I'm so sorry. But my thoughts are not I don't have the greatest way to express my thoughts. But, we get Vancouver and Edmonton in the first round. LA and Phoenix. Wasn't that the first round last year? And Phoenix had a beast season. They won the President's Trophy last year. They won it again this year with a great roster, great lineup. They've got a lot of money invested in a ton of players on that team. And they got swept, I thought, in the first round a season ago. So they look to avenge that loss a season later here in the playoffs in round 1. It'll be Ottawa, Tampa Bay, Montreal, Boston, Columbus, Toronto, Carolina, and Washington all in the first round. If we advance, we will take on the winner of Ottawa, Tampa Bay, setting up a possible Leafs and Habs East final. It is a possibility, and I think we've seen that in this GM mode, a Leafs Habs East final. The out west, it'll be Coyotes and Kings, Canucks, Oilers, Avalanche and Sharks, Stars and Jets out west. So that's the playoff tree in Season 10's playoffs. You know, at the end of the last season, I didn't look at this at the awards screen. So let's put it in here at the end of the regular season simulation from Season 10. So the Season 9, 2021-2022 season, that would be Season 9, the Stanley Cup winners were obviously the Oilers over the 3-time in a row defending Cup champion Montreal Canadiens. So the President's Trophy, like I said, it went to Phoenix last season. They actually won it as well in 2019-2020, and they have just won back-to-back President's Trophies it didn't do him any good. The President's Trophy curse lives on with the Coyotes, but will that be the case here in Season 10 when we get to playing out the playoff games? So it's a good news. There will be playoff games here in Season 10 for us. Oh, that's right, the Western Conference. I'm looking at this like, where are the Canadiens? But this is the team that advanced to the Stanley Cup Final as the winner of the Western Conference. All 4 of these teams faced the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup Final that they advanced to. Only the Edmonton Oilers were able to beat the Canadiens in that final. And there you go. We've won 4 Prince of Wales trophies in a row. 3 Stanley Cups out of those Prince of Wales trophies. The Art Ross a season ago went to Dauphin. That's right, Laurent Dauphin had that incredible run. So Laurent Dauphin is the defending Hart and Art Ross. He's the defending Art Ross, defending Hart Trophy winner. And who won the Richard Trophy a season ago? McEwen won the Norris. Dauphin won the Lady Byng. Virtanen won the Calder. Dubnyk winning the Conn Smythe Trophy. Oh, I think I did look at this. The Vezina did go to Carey Price. I think I did look at this, actually, after we lost the Stanley Cup in Game 7. The Jennings going to Carey Price. So Price winning some awards in Season 9. Seeloff to Masterton. Selke to McDavid. Dauphin to Lindsay. The Richard went to Dauphin as well. So Dauphin won a bunch of awards. He had a great year last season with Phoenix. First things first, Art Ross Trophy, as 82 games have been completed, it's going to go to Connor McDavid. So he triumphs Jonathan Drouin, who put in a great run at the end of the season for that Art Ross Trophy, but it's going to go to McDavid. Might be his first Art Ross Trophy of the GM mode. I'm not entirely sure. But there you go for McDavid, 96-point season in 82 games. How many points did Dauphin score? Where is Laurent Dauphin? He should be somewhere in here. There he is. How many points did Dauphin score a season ago? I thought it was over 100. It was. He had a 108-point, 52-goal season. So there you go. That's your comparison. The Richard Trophy this season is also going to go to Connor McDavid. So he triumphs. Wow. How do you determine the Richard Trophy here when you have a tie? It's a tie between Gaudreau and McDavid for the Richard Trophy, and they both played 82 games this season. Is this Gaudreau's best season statistically of the last 4? Absolutely. This might be Gaudreau's best season statistically. He has fully arrived now at 29 years of age. It's coming for Gaudreau and the Flames, but of course they missed out on the playoffs this season, so we get no Johnny Gaudreau in the playoffs this year. The penalty minutes leader was actually Dylan McIlrath with 343. Weiss was a not even a close second. He had 251 penalties in minutes this year. So sorted by goaltenders, sorted by games played. You would sort it by games played and then look at who has the best save percentage. I think Stanley Denny with the San Jose Sharks just won the Vezina Trophy. What was the save percentage? 92? I don't think you're going to find a goaltender. He played 76 games, man. I don't think you're going to find a goalie with stats this good that played 76 games. That's very impressive. Whoever the backup there in San Jose is, he was just getting practice time. That's all that he was doing. So a quick rundown of all the goaltenders and the games that they played. Fucale played 52 this year, had a 242 GAA, and a 92 even save percentage. So a very good year out of Fucale with his first time in the starters crease with the Canadiens full time. Man, I am butchering sentences everywhere, but my brain and mouth are just not connected right now. And that's the reality of doing this late afternoon recording session and just burned out at this point after a full hour of simulating the last half of the regular season. So, injuries and everything that we've had to put up with. Pacioretty with a really disappointing year from a goal scorer. I guess you could say disappointing, considering he's 34, but he hasn't begun dropping off. The potential is still high for Max Pacioretty, and we'll just compare his previous seasons, and we'll just do this for every player. So this is his season 10 results at the top of this list of 4 seasons. So he actually improved on points, and he scored one more goal in one more game played this year for Max Pacioretty, and he was a plus 17. His playoff stats a season ago, there they are on the screen for you. And we'll do the same with everyone. We'll just go down the list. Matt Duchene, of course, 32 years old, definitely not going to drop off. I thought he had more than 31 goals in him. I thought he had a 40-goal season in the bag, but I don't know. The goal scoring just the well dried up for Duchesne at the end of the season. There's his playoff stats from the last 3 playoff appearances. Louis LeBlanc, 18 goal, 55 point season, so not too bad, but obviously we see what he's capable of. He can score 28 goals in 73 games because he's done it before, and his playoff stats as well. Su Kai-Ming missed some time with injury, so very disappointing. Didn't even hit 20 goals, played 68 games. This guy has 40 goal possibility, but again, he's a consistent plus 20 in the plus minus, so defensively, he is not an issue whatsoever. And again, there's a look at the attributes of Su Kai-Ming in his age 27 season. Ryan Kudrowinski, another year on the team. We signed him to a extended contract in the summer, up to 3 years, $4.1 million. And he scores 18 goals, 47 points in 71 games played. And the big thing that I'm noticing with the majority of our roster is no one is heavily in the negative when it comes to plus minus. Niederreiter, another player we signed in the offseason, 3 years at $2.2 million. He has a 21 goal, 41 point season. Played 63 games. A lot of that is because I forgot that he was a healthy scratch. So yeah, he spent a lot of time in the press box when he shouldn't have been. He should have been out there playing games on the ice for this team. But it's okay. There's what he did in the playoff run with us last year in those 18 games played, missed time in the playoffs with an injury as well. So Damon Severson, he is age 28. So we've got a good roster here put together. 7 goal, 35 point year. I can take that from a defenseman. That's a solid season and a plus 26 rating from Damon Severson and his playoff stats. Probably a big part of the reason this team made the playoffs is Damon Severson and that blue line. Sean Monahan, 28 years of age, 11 goal, 34 point season, playing third line center. And he is in the negative, but it's not heavy. What was it, a -5? That's not too bad. We'll look at all the plus minuses of all the collective players as a whole in a moment. So PK Subban, age 33 year, extended to a 3-year deal. Actually, did he take a discount from what we were paying him before? I think he took a discount to come back to the Canadiens. 7 goal, 31 point season. The drop-off is nearing for Subban in the next couple of seasons. It may happen next season. Did I look at Subban's playoff stats from a season ago? He had 3 goals, 15 points in 24 games en route to that Game 7 loss to the Oilers. He was a plus 22 on that playoff run, by the way. Voivoda, age 25 year. It should be arriving for Voivoda soon. This is the last year of his entry-level deal, so he's going to get paid in the summer, but we worry about that after we go on this playoff run. So there's the attributes as it is right now. He is still a 78 overall. Ideally, going into the contract negotiation, he doesn't grow too much, and then I can sign him to a reasonable value contract for a long term, and then he just sees a huge bump in growth. But Voivoda, on the last year of his ELC deal, scores 29 points, 18 goals, played in all 82 games on my fourth line center position, and there's his playoff stats from his first playoff appearance in the NHL. Victor Hedman, getting older, drop-off is not happening yet. He's got 2 years left on his current deal. 79 games played, 4 goals, 29 points. Would have liked to have seen a little more offensive output, especially goal-scoring wise, from Victor Hedman, who doesn't have the greatest shooting category, but I would like to see more goals scored out of Hedman. There's his playoff run, just 1 goal in the 24 games played last season. Kamayev and his season, a guy that I've relied on since I drafted him. Again, he's a second-round pick of mine, and this is the last year of his $2.1 million deal. I may end up dumping Kamayev, but then again, I don't know. I mean, he scores goals pretty well for a guy that plays in my bottom 6, basically. He's a pretty good depth player for this team. Has been consistently for the whole GM mode. Begris, the former pick of the Avalanche, 1 year remaining on this deal, scored 6 goals, 28 points, was a plus 22. I had a great decor this year. A reliable bunch of players that could keep the puck out of the back of the net. It seemed like as well we got goaltending. Remember when we checked in on the stats in the midway part of the season? That's right, Teravainen, first season as a HAB. It was a 1-year deal, right? Yeah, it was a 1-year, $1 million even deal. But when we checked in on the stats at some point in the season simulation, we weren't getting any goaltending. And then somehow along the way, we just figured it out. I guess our D started playing D in front of our goalies. 70 games played for Tamernis, 3-star, White Star potential rating. He's now reached 32 years of age. Once upon a time, traded to me by the Vancouver Canucks. I forgot which season that happened in. He's still got 2 years left. and I happily took that player off the Canucks. He was like an 80, was he not an 87 overall or an 86 overall defenseman at one point? That was a solid pickup from us by the Canucks. Teemu Pukkanen, it's the last year of his $1 million deal as a great fourth line player for this team. 6 goals on the fourth line, not too bad. You're not getting a lot of minutes when you play fourth line time, and he still found a way to pot 6 of them. Bourneval, he was just a depth option in case of injury, and he still got in here for 58 games played and 12 goals, 23 points. And he played on my first line at one point because injuries got desperate. So Ryan Murphy, 30 years old. I just keep bringing Murphy back. In fact, I think I signed him to a 2-year deal. I did. 2 years, $1 million even. That saves me some money. And that was the bigger reason for extending Murphy, is wanting to save money and giving him the $1 million deal. That didn't hit the pocketbook too hard with that contract. Stromwall, a player I signed in free agency several seasons ago. And he was, I mentioned it so many times, but we ran into Malte Stromwall on the Carolina Hurricanes in our playoff runs in the past. And I figured that he would be a fun pickup when I saw him in free agency. Weiss getting into his rookie season. I don't know if it's his rookie season in play. I don't know if he's played any NHL games. No, he has. He has played in the NHL before this, but he gets into his first season as a Hab, scoring 5 goals, 9 points, was a plus 14 for an enforcer defenseman, and he bumped up to an 80 overall. So he has seen some growth throughout the season, and he's played playoff games before, so he's no stranger to the playoffs. I can't wait to play with this guy in the game because he's 6'9", 245. I mean, he is massive, and it's going to be fun to actually get into some playoff action with him on my third D pair. He's also really just a brute force on the ice. He took 251 penalty minutes this year. So sorting it by plus minus, you can see that this team knew how to score goals and keep the puck out of the net. A lot of guys heavily in the positive on plus minus. That is a key part in getting into the playoffs. In fact, 2 players in the negative for this team. What about the goaltending? How was Price's season? He played 34 games, so this was the year that Price took a step back for this team. He did what was asked of him by the organization. He gave up the goal crease to Fucale, and he actually ended up recovering to a 90 save percentage. It was in the toilet at one point. His GAA was, and his save percentage, he was struggling this year, basically relegated to the backup position and backup role for the Canadiens. Here's a comparison to last season. He played 69 games a season ago, so that wear and tear may have come to affect Carey Price at this point in the GM mode. His worst regular season in ages, but still, we made the playoffs. But that was mostly on the back of Fucale. He played in 20 games last year in the playoffs with a horrendous numbers in the last couple of playoff appearances for Price. You could see that he was on the downward trend for a while. And a look at Fucale, his first season in NHL. No, that was his first playoff appearance last year. So he played in 8 games last year. He got, I don't know how many starts he had. I think he had 4 starts in the Stanley Cup final for this team and rocked a 909, 2.85. So that was his playoff experience last year. May have come in handy for this regular season simulation as he gets into 52 games, officially crowned the new starting goaltender of the Montreal Canadiens. And what a high-pressure situation that is to be the starting goalie for one of the most storied franchises in the NHL. There's a lot of pressure on you if you step into that Habs goal crease. And he has come through in spades for this team, put the team on his back, and carried us into a playoff appearance. And a final look, this is the last thing we're going to look at, the team standings, so you can see how the NHL shook out. Of course, we know Phoenix claimed that President's Trophy, back-to-back President's Trophies, but the Senators finish as the best team in the East. So the Senators with a 103-point season, and down the list we go. We can see who just missed out as well, the Islanders. Oh my goodness, Islanders, man. If you just won a couple more games, you would have been in. All you had to do was just win a few more games. The Blues miss out by, who was the last team in the West? It was the Los Angeles Kings, so that was definitely doable for St. Louis. It sucks if you're on the cutoff line. Calgary, it's the same story for Calgary. You just win 2 or 3 more games and you're in. I mean, that is the pain of being at the playoff cutoff line, is when you're just outside looking in, it was a matter of a couple of bounces in your regular season that determines your fate. and is the reason you're not in the playoff picture entering the postseason. The goals for per game leader was the Vancouver Canucks, and that doesn't surprise me. They have Connor McDavid. They have a variety of really good players. We'll take a look at some of these teams at the start of the next episode, which of course will be round 1 against the Boston Bruins. So when we start that episode, we'll take a look at some of these teams in further detail, especially the Bruins. We'll take a look at the Canucks. We'll take a look at a couple of the playoff teams that interest me. So the Coyotes, Canucks, the Oilers, and the Bruins. We'll probably look at their individual rosters. The entire league, goals against per game leader was, it was the Colorado Avalanche. They had the best goals against per game in the league, so they had a really good D and goaltending, and of course they did make the playoffs. So I would be shocked if you missed the playoffs with that kind of goals against per game. Look at the Islanders. They missed the playoffs, and they had a goals against average per game that was better than some of the teams that did get in, than a chunk of teams that got in. Now, our goals against per game was 2.76. It was far down the list, and yet we had guys that were high in the plus minus, so I don't know how that makes sense. Well, unless we just were giving up power plays. I guess our penalty kill was not very good. Our power play was one of the worst in the league, and we got into the playoffs with that horrendous power play. So too did San Jose. My brain is mush now, but our penalty kill was actually the worst penalty kill of the teams that qualified for the playoffs. There were only 2 teams in the regular season that had a worse penalty kill than we did. It was Nashville and Calgary. And if we had a worse power play than all of these teams above us. There are 27 other teams in the league that had a better PK than we did. The best penalty killing team in the league, the Edmonton Oilers, on a tie with the Ottawa Senators. And that's it. I just can't think anymore. I'm ready to cut it and call it a day. And I need to actually edit and upload an episode later today as well. So I am ready to call it a day. And we will preview the Bruins and a bunch of the other teams that made the playoffs at the start of the next episode.